Hello, everyone. My name is Ricardo Belchior. I work at Reach PLC, and in this talk, I'm going to talk how I've been keeping my sanity while white labeling 40 applications. So, just to give some context, I work at Reach PLC. We are the biggest newspaper group in the UK. So, the company owns more than 100 newspapers, including nationals and regionals one in the UK. And currently we have 45 apps published on the PlayStore. And when you develop apps at this scale, there's some challenges that appear that you wouldn't normally face when doing just one app. There's a lot of manual work that it's okay to do if you only have one app, but when you have 45 different ones, you have to improve this process so that you don't do manual work all the time. And so there's quite a few niche challenges. So these will not apply to everyone, certainly, but if you have an app that you are also white labeling, then perhaps you can take away some tips and tricks from this talk. We are a very small team, so we have just 2 Android developers, 2 iOS developers, and 2 testers. And so with such a small team, automation is really important, and making sure that your process is right is something that will make you faster on the long run. Because there's a lot of little things that you wouldn't particularly think are a problem until you have to repeat them 45 times. And so in this talk, automation is key. I will talk about some of those challenges and really some things that we did to improve our lives. And some of that are about improving your build.gradle file, making sure it's a bit more manageable, how we do different theming and how we customize all the different apps individually, how we manage our continuous integration and continuous delivery service, and or also third-party services. So starting with the long list of flavors, as you can imagine, normally the flavors go into your app / build.gradle, but if you have 45, that build.gradle is going to be pretty big. And so one first step that you can easily do is to extract that list of flavors into a separate file. And in this case, we put that in this flavors.gradle file where we declare these lists. You could also put it on a JSON file or whatever. How you do it is not really the important thing here. It's more like it's good to do it. And then in your app build.gradle, we can declare that variable for flavors, which will import the flavors.gradle file. And then we can dynamically declare those flavors. Another thing that's quite annoying to manage can be the signing configs, which is something that also usually goes in your build.gradle. And if you have many different signing configs, your build.gradle file will also get pretty big. And so this is how we can extract it into separate files as well. So we still manually declare the debug signing config. And then for each flavor, we declare a signing config with the same name for that, initially with an empty block, which will be filled later on. For the product flavors, usually you also need to specify the signing config for each flavor. And so we also do that dynamically based on the name of the flavor. And then we set up this callback so that when the signing config object is declared, we call that setup signing object, which will eventually grab the information from these different .info files. These files have the regular format for the signing config, like the password, key alias, key password. And then we have this script in Gradle that will basically grab the information from these .info files and apply it to the signing configs block. And so this is how we do this signing configs thing. Another useful thing that we've been finding is that quite often we need to know what's the signing certificate for each key store. For example, when setting up a Facebook developer page or setting up Firebase developer page. And this is one of those things that you probably never really need to do that more than once with just one app, but with 40, it starts to get pretty annoying to Google all the time how to grab that information. And so we just have a simple Ruby script that, given a key store, will print out the SHA-1, SHA-256, etc. for each of the different applications. And using these utilities, another thing that we use a similar script is to verify the app links. So app links is one technique to improve deep linking on your app. So if you want to have deep links without Android asking whether that app is a verified one or not. And so in order to do that, your website needs to have a file always available on a particular domain. So it's the digital asset links file, which is like that. And so in this file, it needs to have the package name and the signing certificate so that Android verifies, okay, this app is correct. And so using those scripts as before, we just have a unit test that runs every day that verifies that, okay, for each of our websites, there is a file available that includes the correct package name and the correct signing certificate. And so that's one more step that's, okay, we don't need to worry about that because it's being verified automatically. And for example, these domains, a lot of times it's out of our control inside the apps team. It's done by other team. And so this gives us that extra safety of mind. In order to develop our app and customize each of them, we have a local configuration. So we just use Android resource system. So we have a configs.xml file for each of the flavors. And this configuration file will include endpoints, service IDs, booleans to enable certain features or not. And we have one for each flavor and the default one at main.configs.xml. Another layer of this configuration is an interface that we call flavor config, which is similar to the configs.xml, but it can be useful for tests because you can provide this object and then simulate you can test it. You are using, okay. Something strange is happening. Remote configuration. So we also have a remote service. So all the time that...
Shared now can screen. Sorry, you must share your screen a second time.
Okay.
Ich brauche den.
Shall I share my screen? Hello? I don't know.
Hello, I hear you.
Yeah.
You share your screen?
Okay.
But in a moment I see only Slido. Yeah, here we back.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Nice, thank you.
Not sure where I was left, but okay, I'll continue from here. So we also have this in terms of remote configuration with things that we control our application remotely. So one is an endpoint that the apps requests every time they start, where they will grab things like font files, icons, and also topics metadata, so that the apps know which where to grab data and what data to grab. Things like how many topics, what's the color of the topics, how many articles per topic, etc. And we also use Firebase remote config to disable certain features, and this is useful for doing A/B testing, where we just take advantage of Firebase A/B testing. Of course, for that, we only do that one application at a time, because the truth is, for A/B testing, we don't need to do that for our 45 applications. Creating new apps, this is another thing that you only do once if you only are working on one app, but for us it starts to get pretty annoying, and it's easy to make mistakes after repeating work a lot of times. And so here I think the important part is just to make sure that you have a process, you have some sort of checklist. For us, what has been working is a Google form, where we just include a bunch of information related to the app, like application name, what's the name on the PlayStore, service IDs, colors, drawables, and it can also work as a checklist so that you don't forget about things like setting up your push notification service or setting up Firebase console, etc. And so these, we just fill it over time. We can share the link and ask for different people to fill the form, and that has been working for us. Another advantage of the Google form is that information is then stored into a spreadsheet, and we can use Google Apps Script to process that data. In our case, we wrote a little script that basically picks that data and generates the configs.xml file. It also generates the colors.xml for light and dark mode, and then it just gets pretty easy to copy paste into the project. And so we know that, okay, once this form is completed, we just click a button to generate the configs file, and we know that a new application is ready to go. CI/CD. So we are still using Jenkins. I know it's not the most cool thing right now, but for us it works because it's very flexible. And so we are using a configuration matrix plugin so that we have like a table like that where we can choose which apps to deploy individually or all together. Also, that list of publications is coming directly from the source code. So it's like another thing that we don't need to hard code. It's all coming from that flavors.gradle file that I was showing initially. And then we upload to the PlayStore using fastlane, which is a tool pretty standard, and it just allows you to upload your application APK or Android app bundle into the Play Store. Another thing that's pretty helpful to do is to automate your screenshots. And so this is something that previously our designer used to do, and you would always go a bit crazy doing that for all the different apps. And the truth is that this is something that's also helpful if you only have one app, because sometimes you change a little bit in your design, and if you can update your screenshots with one click, that's great. And so it's easy to do that by writing some Espresso tests that go through your app, and you take a screenshot. And then Fastlane has a tool that's called Frame It, where you can place a device on the screenshot that you took, and you can specify the text, where to put the text, which device you want to use. And so that's pretty helpful. Since it's an Espresso test, you can also specify which data you want to put in the screenshot. So really you can control everything in here. And some final observations. So generally speaking, working with the Play Store, it's pretty difficult when you have 45 applications, mostly because your information is not aggregated. So for example, if we want to see app reviews numbers, we need to look at it individually for each app. And so, and the same thing goes for investigating crashes or analytics. On Firebase, we are currently using one project for each of these different applications. Although, well, that's coming because we previously used Fabric. But the truth is that on Firebase, we can probably have only one project with all our applications. And that will make it probably easier to analyze. As an overall note, like managing third-party services is usually a difficult thing because most of them are not really prepared for this scale, and a lot of times we need to create like different accounts or different projects for all our different applications, and it's harder to see information and to analyze data. On the other hand, one of the things that gets a bit easier is to do staging rollouts. So I don't remember the last time we used Google Play Store staging rollouts feature. We just start by deploying some apps that have a smaller user base, and then gradually roll out more of these apps. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Not sure how I am in terms of time. I think we have some time for questions. And yeah, we're hiring, so reach out if you want to join. Thank you. Okay. So I think there's a few questions. I don't know how I can.
Do you see the questions?
No, it's very small. Maybe 5. No. Okay, maybe I can do this. Okay, so I can see now the questions. Who manages all the Google Play Store accounts? You or your customers? We manage all the Play Store accounts. Well, in our case, our customers it's ourselves as well. So, but I would argue that it's good that the developers have access to the Play Store accounts. Mainly because, well, there's a lot of information there that's useful for you. Perhaps the developers don't need the full access to the Play Store features, but some access, I think it's important. How to ensure that the modification on a common code module will not break any variant? I think you have to test it either, well, the right answer is to unit test it. And so, for example, in our case, you would make sure, like in that flavor config interface, that's something that you can easily mock in your tests. And so you would have to make a unit test to make sure that it works both ways, either with something enabled or not. But that is generally difficult. I agree with that. I will say that in our case, most of our tests, we only run it for one variant or one publication. Unless there's things that we know, okay, this might be tricky or this is worth testing with different publications, and then we would write a test that ensures that it's still working for both. But most of our tests, we only run it for one publication, mostly because running tests is still slow, and slow to run it versus 45 times, let's say. Have you considered multiple application modules, wrappers, instead of flavor approach? No, I have not considered. Not sure that would be, well, yeah, I never considered it. When we started, I don't think that was even an option. But yeah, thanks for the answer. How do you handle hotfixes? That should happen on all apps. Yes, when there's a hotfix, it needs to go to all applications. We still do staged rollouts in that case, in the sense that, okay, let's put a scenario when we roll out everything and we found out there's a crash. We create a fix, we roll out one application or two applications, and if that works, then we roll out to all applications. Yeah. Another question? No, I don't see the questions anymore.
No. We must end this talk.
Okay.
Say goodbye for your audience.
Okay, so thank you everyone, and thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of the conference.